Okay.
It's really good. It's a lot. I know they're crazy.
Oh, it's crazy. Live streaming.
We are unmuted. Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining, and welcome to all those who have tuned in on YouTube to check in on the status on our search here for the next community college president CEO. Dr. Gold, could you please take the roll?
Tom Looney, Chair.
Here.
Mr. John Kane.
Here.
Honorable Chaz Beasley. Ms. Lisa Eastep.
Here.
State Treasurer Brad Briner.
Here.
Mr. Chris Lumsden.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ward Nye.
Here.
Dr. Amanda Lee.
Good morning.
Mr. Gene Reese.
Here.
Mr. Chris Chung. Honorable Senator Michael Lee.
Here.
Honorable Representative David Willis. Mr. Seth Dearman.
All right, thank you very much. Our update meeting today includes several important items in the search process. There are actually no action items, but your input today is critical to the overall search process, as you'll see here shortly. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Second, Mr. Kane. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Ms. Carpenter, could you please read the ethics statement?
Yes, sir. Good morning. In accordance with the State Government's Ethics Act, it is the duty of every member of this committee to avoid both conflict of interest and appearance of conflict. Does any member of the committee have any known conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us today? If so, please identify that conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from undue participation in the particular matter involved. Noting none, sir.
Great, thank you very much. You all received 2 sets of minutes prior to this meeting, minutes from our December 8th vendor evaluation meeting and minutes from our February 5th update meeting. We'll approve both sets of minutes in one motion. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move, Chris.
Chris, but second,
Second.
was it John Kane? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, let's move on now to business. First, I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. We are actually at a critical inflection point in the search. Over the past several weeks, we've conducted one of the most comprehensive stakeholder engagement efforts in the history of the system, and I think, quite frankly, state, and I think our search firm will affirm that. They are pretty worn out at this point based on our efforts over the last month. We've listened to business, political leaders, educators, policymakers, board members, trustees, presidents, faculty, staff, and partners across North Carolina, and the message has been clear. This search is not just about selecting the next president, it's about defining the future of the North Carolina community college system. Today, we shift from listening to defining. We will translate what we've heard in clear, disciplined profile, one that reflects not only the expectations for the leader, but the priorities for the system moving forward. And your input is critical in this process. So we move to the agenda, please.
Go back to the next slide. Slide 2.
Okay. I'm going to first take you through the stakeholder feedback summary, a roll-up of all the numbers and the groups we've engaged over the last 45 days. Take you through the presidential profile draft. I mean, this is such a draft, I haven't totally reviewed it yet. So there will be edits to this. Please make us aware of any changes, and we'll cover that here shortly. The search landing page will go live here effective date today.
This afternoon.
This afternoon, okay. With the overview of the search and the purpose, and then we'll end with timelines and milestones for the overall process. Go to the next one. Okay, our search engagement plan. We all agreed that this would be a very comprehensive, inclusive set of interviews, website, group discussions, personal interviews, and questionnaires to all the key stakeholders. This includes faculty, staff, students, which will go out shortly. It includes the presidents. It includes all of our other sister organizations. It includes personal interviews. Mr. Kane and I personally spoke to over 12 statewide leaders in this process. We'll be setting up a public website with questionnaires so anyone in the public can provide input on this job. If you look on the left side in the green one, we've got also personal interviews conducted by Ken Couric from Bufkin Baker, and then 3 larger group interview sessions, which the search firm also performed. And I think right now we're up to over 1,300 people. We should be well over 2,000 by the time we're done. And if we go to the top right corner on the personal interviews, to give you some idea of the folks we talked to 2 former system presidents, being Peter Hans and Scott Rawls. We spoke to leaders in our state such as Sharon Decker, Seth Dearman. We also spoke to folks from our philanthropic organizations that support us so well. So such as MC Belt Pylon and Kelly McManus from Arnold Ventures, and then business leaders and folks of both the House and the Senate. We've got very frank, direct feedback that was very consistent with a lot of the feedback we also received from the other groups we discussed. And I'll tell you, the one thing that was really important in those discussions was everyone was so thankful we called them, wanted to listen to their opinion, and gave the opportunity to provide feedback. John, you were on all those calls with me. Could you share kind of your observations from those discussions?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Tom just said. Just every single one that we talked to was very appreciative of the time and the effort that we made to reach out to them. They were very enthusiastic about the search, very enthusiastic about the community college system, and also in need of transformation and bold leadership going forward, and bold leadership that would have humility and character and a presence about them. So I think we heard that from literally every single one that we talked to. And most of the time, Tom and I talked for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and they talked for the remainder of the 30, and most of the calls went over 30 minutes. So there was a lot of enthusiasm from everybody we talked to.
And we also spoke to Mo Green to get the superintendent's view of where the system needs to head in collaboration with them. And again, as well as Peter Hans to get his view on how our collaboration can improve going forward. So it was really encouraging for me. I'd say it put gas in my and John's tank as we move through the search process. And I believe it'll give you all confidence and all of our stakeholders confidence that we have listened and now we're responding. I'm just going to take about 3 minutes here before we move on and talk about the overall stakeholder feedback, to talk about some key messages we heard from the set of folks that John and I spoke to. Number one was lead bold system transformation, which win legislative confidence. Lead system-wide modernization with user-driven adoption. Strengthen workforce alignment and employer partnerships, especially apprenticeships. Rebuild trust through transparency, communication, and engagement. Build a high-performance system office team and culture. Clarify governance rules and reduce system friction. Improve student experience and remove barriers to completion in careers. and drive system-wide accountability with measurable outcomes. So it was very, I think, outstanding feedback. That's just one set of the feedback. We've got much more that will be rolling up from the other organizations that will lead to the final development, the criteria we establish in the profile. With that now, let me turn it over to Ken Carrick from Bufkin Baker. Ken is the one who's been driving the group questionnaires, the personal interviews, and then the large 3 group sessions. Ken? Okay, I've covered most of this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh.
Thanks. Well, thanks for having us, Janie and I this morning. And I'm going to start with, before I cover these 2 slides real quickly, I'm going to start with really kind of the second echo of what Tom has said. In the work that we did in terms of the group interviews, the personal interviews, and the surveys, there was a broad range of people, and I won't repeat them, but Tom's kind of listed the groups. But I've been in the search business for 40 some years, and this is one of the more broad, inclusive stakeholder gathering information that I've been a part of. And much like John said, everybody I talked to was very thankful and appreciative that they were asked. I did very little talking, almost all listening, and got a lot of good information. I also want to say that, and I think Tom alluded to this, the information we got across all groups, whether I did a group meeting, an individual meeting, or it was the results of the surveys that we sent out, there was tremendous consistency and repetitiveness in what we heard. That's why you see a slide here of these top 10 opportunities and takeaways, and the next slide that we'll look at in a moment. So when I see that kind of consistency and that kind of repetitiveness across a range of stakeholders with different interests, that tells me that we're getting really good information and we're getting the right information. So with that, Tom just said he covered most of these. There are a couple of things that I just really want to highlight. I want to highlight the word bold. And one of the things that we also heard around that bold system transformation is the ability to think in a regional context. The legislative piece, almost everybody mentioned having good relationships with the legislature around a number of things. Unity, it was another thing that we heard a lot. You see that in the third bullet. Modernization was a word that kept coming up over and over and over again, as well as workforce alignment. And you're going to see some of these same themes carry over when we get to the next slide as well. Trust was a big word. Trust, transparency, communication, high-performing team, the ability to serve from the system office to serve the colleges, which kind of gets into the clarity of the governance and who does what. The student experience is always important in an educational environment, and then accountability and outcomes. The ability to be accountable for what the system is doing and then have ways to measure the outcomes. So from those takeaways and opportunities, we also gathered how does that translate into some of the characteristics of the next CEO. So if we could go to the next slide, and you're going to see again remarkable consistency I hear in this slide. When you talk about bold transformation, that relates to a relentless bias for action. We heard the word trust and communication. That relates to a relationship builder, someone who's authentic, but yet courageous and able to make tough decisions. The humble confidence part, someone described, or a group described, confident enough to lead, humble enough to listen, learn, and adjust. I think that's an excellent subtitle there. Enterprise thinker, thinking at the system level, back to communicator, storyteller, trust builder. The political savvy relates directly to the legislative confidence that we had on the last slide. High-performing teams, you see that if you're going to have a high-performing team, you have to be able to identify the talent and develop talent and be a builder of high-performing teams. We talked about bold transformation, therefore change leader, and then someone who's willing to be the face of the system. The storyteller piece goes back up to the previous bullet. So I think if you were to examine these bullets in detail, you see that there's a direct correlation between the takeaways and the opportunities and the personal characteristics of what the stakeholders told us they think that should define the new CEO. And again, I can't stress enough how consistent this feedback was across the stakeholder groups for both the ones that Tom and John talked to, as well as the ones that we were involved in. So I'll stop there and see if there's anything I left out, or if Tom or John want to add anything to what I just said.
Anything surprise anybody or see anything that was missed as far as the personal characteristics or the opportunities and takeaways? And again, all this information now will be boiled down to a much smaller set that'll be used in the profile, which we'll talk about next. Not yet. See if anybody has any comments or questions about any of the feedback we've received to date. Okay, did a great job, Ken.
Thank you. You guys did too.
Hey, Tom?
Yes, Ken. Oh, excuse me,
This is
Chris.
It's just a quick question to Ken, and this may come later, so if so, we'll just hold off. This is all great information. What I did not see are the basic job requirements for the CEO president position. Education requirements, experience, things of that nature, basic things. Are we going to have that? You have to have an advanced degree or doctorate degree, or does that really matter? Or 10 years of experience or system-wide success in running a company, things of that nature.
And Tom and John, correct me if I'm wrong, the questions that were designed for the different stakeholder groups really did not get that granular. I think a lot of that description, if my memory serves me correctly, may come from what Dr. McGinnis presented to us in one of the previous meetings around what exactly does the president do. I think we have some of that in the profile. To answer your question, Chris, yes, but I think some of that will come from the information that Dr. McGinnis brought forward, if I'm remembering correctly, and then the committee will supplement in there with our advice on what the educational requirements are, et cetera. But yes, some of that should be in the profile. Yes.
We actually,
We're
Chris,
going to need that before we post the position, though, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
yeah, we discussed that yesterday. I'd like your feedback is that what we were going to put in there was a PhD was not required.
Okay.
And that would be my recommendation as well.
How about CEO experience?
I think you can use, I like the word preferred or strongly preferred. I would not necessarily advise you make that mandatory, because you may find somebody, let's say you found somebody that's run a division of a large company, but they haven't been the CEO, they've been a division head. I don't think we want to be any more exclusive than we have to. You can always make that kind of decision when you interview.
I don't think we want to box out a whole group either by saying they had to be a CEO. I think someone who's run a large system, has got the experience in transformation in things like IT and finance, some of those basic skills to run a system. I mean, we're not trying to hire the 59th college president. We're trying to hire a system president that requires different skills and the ability to scale. So I think we can have further discussion on this, but I would not require, in my mind, CEO experience. And anyone else has a differing opinion, I'd like to hear it.
Well, as the search consultant, our advice is, and we try to follow our own advice, is to keep your options broad. So we think broadly, interview broadly, then you can choose to hire as narrowly as you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, let's move over to the presidential profile. And let me, like I said, on the profile you're going to see here, this is early. This This version I hadn't seen yet myself in totality, so there are adjustments, and this is where we're going through the fine tuning to make sure we've got this right before we release this profile. And we'll go through the release dates here shortly, but we've got a week or so here to get this thing right and make sure that it's the right messaging to attract the right candidate. So Nathan, over to you.
Good morning. I'll be relatively quick in this. I just want to give you some overview here of the document itself. And then we'll talk some about feedback for this and the process for that. So let me just start here by saying we're very intentional in our titling of this being the most important job in North Carolina. We wanted to signal that this role carries statewide significance, and we really want to attract the strongest possible talent pool for this. What you'll see in this is we have some placeholders still for our voices across the state. We really want to show the statewide support for this role. And so we're working through the final approvals of the individuals that we want to quote, and we'll be working with those individuals as we look at our next version. One of the things that we wanted to convey in the profile is the system's scale and momentum. And so you'll see in this, we did not want this to be an incredibly text-heavy document. We really wanted it to be something that we were really clear in the stats that really drove home the system's size, breadth, and momentum. And so in that, we really leaned on our data team to help us tell that story. And you'll see that through our enrollment numbers. You'll see that through the ways that we've shown the variance in our state in terms of the types of students that we serve, in terms of the types of programming that we have. One of the unique things about the North Carolina Community College system is that many other states don't have the types of offering that we have. They may have a few of them, but they don't have the comprehensive approach that we have, which I think is really selling for us. Next is we looked at the foundation's support for this for the system. We looked at the SOAR campaign, which is their capital campaign, and really we wanted to drive home the economic urgency section in this, and really talking about the why now for candidates. It's really important for us to talk about the economic support that we have, the jobs that have come in now, and where we're going in terms of our need to step up as workforce developers.
You know, what's got to come out of this one is, and again, this is a huge message. I use the word sometimes, we pick everybody's pocket here now as far as getting funding to fund our programs. In this case, we said we had a $10 million foundation that was stagnant for probably the last 10 to 20 years. And over the last 13 months raised 54 million. So this chart is going to be changed somewhat because that 54 occurred in a very narrow window on basically a 5-year campaign. So we're already 54 against the 75. And I will tell you, in talking to our largest philanthropic partners here over the last 2 weeks with John Kane, they're incredibly excited about what's going on in the community college system. And to me, as a source of funds for a system, I think the grant potential is huge if we continue to lead as a state. And part of that leading is modernization, which we talked about with all our philanthropic friends. And the other thing is, today we measure pretty much on enrollment is a lot of ways moving to outcomes in workforce and student success.
If you'll go down to the operations financial. Yeah. And go to the next one. After that, we wanted to give an operational and financial snapshot of the system. We wanted to show, the 3.17 billion in statewide budget, the 1.8 billion in state aid. We wanted to give, again, the scale of employees that we have across the system and to give really an understanding of the size. Again, we're the third largest community college system in the country. We wanted to show that. And we serve all 100 counties. We wanted that to come through for the candidates.
The key number on here that all the board members aren't even aware of is the fact that the system office budget is 1.8 billion. The internal budget is what, 355, but then the overall budget for the colleges is 3.17 billion. Is that correct, Nathan?
For the system office, the annual operating budget is 40 billion.
40 million.
Yeah.
What's the 335 again? I can't read it from here.
Um,
Tuition and fee receipts. Okay.
Here you can go to the next one. And so next up is talking about where this position fits in the national conversation. As we know, community colleges are in the best position for community colleges in my lifetime in terms of the conversation around higher education, the conversation around the need for trade education. We wanted that to be reflected in this as well. Obviously, we're at the intersection of tradition and progress when it comes to AI, technology opportunities that we have. And so this is really an incredible opportunity we wanted to come through in terms of North Carolina being a national leader and really being able to help tell that story as well.
Oh, hold it. Stay on here. I got a comment on this. And this one, that's a stock photo. My view on this is we've got to provide a bold statement that the state supports our community college system and education in North Carolina and workforce. And what we want to put in there is, I actually contacted the group this morning, is to get a picture of the new education center, education and workforce center across the street. To me, that is a resounding support of our state for education and workforce development. I know as a former employer, to walk in a building like that, knowing we've got both K-12, community college, higher ed, and the workforce development team from Commerce in one building, that is one hell of a strong message to attract business to this state and shows a dramatic commitment by the General Assembly to support education in North Carolina and be the leader. So that's the kind of messaging we want to come out of here. We are on the verge of dramatic expansion and success. We're building on success here in North Carolina. If you bring the right skills to the table, that person can take us to the next level. And again, if anybody else has any other ideas to put in there to fire up candidates, please, this is your time to speak. Okay. Sorry to slow you down.
No,
This is important.
absolutely. We did talk about really the candidate profile of this, what stakeholders are telling us that they want, and the through line, being that as we talked about earlier, that bold vision, that bias for action, and the ability to think at an enterprise level with our 58 colleges, while making sure that we respect what makes each one work, but with focus on workforce outcomes and credentials. And so we think it's this is certainly a good start. We have some changes already that we've already made for the next version of this. And we'll continue to take the feedback from this group as we make changes to this document moving forward, and we'll get new versions of this back to this group as well.
We want the attributes and experiences and qualifications to be inspirational to candidates. This is not looking backwards. It's only looking forwards of what we're going to achieve as a system under new leadership. So if there's some things in there that don't look right, you're right. They don't look right. I've reviewed it this morning and they'll be deleted. But we want to be focused on the future and where the next leader can take this system.
And then lastly, we have our a letter from the board chair, And I think we already have a new version of this as well that we'll be putting out. But we want something again that's inspirational, that speaks to the support from the board for this candidate, and the support for the transformational opportunity that we see moving.
And again, I think our board's a strong suit that'll help attract candidates, and we'll have plans to meet with probably the final 3 candidates at the end of the process. This board has got skills on it that I didn't see 3 or 4 years ago, whether it's IT skills, hospital systems, trades, very strong, committed, engaged board, which will be a key asset for the new president, and very well aligned with where we want to take the system. So I want to be able to say that in the candidate note. And again, that's the first draft. We're going to be working on that to make sure it's very impactful of the support the new president will get from the board at carrying out this mission.
And then last is talking again about the opportunity. It pulls in the lifestyle piece of this. Why Raleigh? Why North Carolina? Talks about just some fast facts about the state. Why North Carolina is a great place for families, a great place to live. And again, driving home that this is a great landscape for economic opportunity, being the number 1 state for business, and where we want to go in terms of workforce development.
Again, we're making an effort not to put too much text in this, more pictures and numbers to get their interest, and even looking at possibly a short version and a long version. And the first version would be to get their interest. Second, it's, boy, I got to take a harder look at this opportunity.
And a couple of just notes. One of the things that we anticipate making changes on, we do want to change out some of the photos we've included in this first draft here to really show the variance in our campuses. We really have some beautiful campuses from out to the coast. We want to make sure that comes through. And so especially too, if we have candidates that are from out of state, we want to show them the variance and the diversity of North Carolina. And as we go through this, we'll also include locations and campus locations and for each of these photos that we do here. We want to make sure that they understand that these are in fact real photos that we're including in this, and we want that to come through for our candidates as well.
And we want to show that we celebrate success here in North Carolina. I mean, when we look at, in this particular picture we discussed yesterday, maybe Janet Spriggs, who's our president of the year this year, we put her on that cover. She's been nationally and regionally recognized. She's recognized as president of the year this year at our gala. Isn't it announced?
Yeah,
It's announced.
Yes.
I'm always sensitive.
Sometimes I get it wrong, but this one I got right. It's out. Everybody knows. But we want to inspire this new leader that this is a great, we got a great board. We got a great system. We've got great presidents. We've got great leadership in the General Assembly. We've got businesses that support us. We've got all the right things for the right individual to put this system on fire in a good way.
And then this last page here, as you saw, and you can go back there, is again, we wanted them to have a clear call to action on this. We want them to be able to, quickly make their way to Lufkin Baker for follow-up and outreach.
So I think winners get there because they really focus on the final 5 to 10%. So that's why your help and participation, you guys have a view coming from very different perspectives, whether it's business, government, the colleges, the trustees, to make sure this profile hits it. We've got one shot. This is what we've worked on for the past 2 to 3 months. Let's make sure we get that last 5% right. So please, you can drop a note to me. You can send it to Nathan or Dr. Gold. You can call us. But if any of you have been involved in one of these projects and saw something that was very impactful, please let us know. We're dependent on Ken too to provide some of his insights. And Ken, I don't know if you have any other words or comments on the profile. I'd like to hear them. You have any?
No, I would have the advantage of seeing the earlier version a little bit and commented. I think I haven't had a chance to review it in detail like you, Tom. I will make comments. But first, I'll make comments after I review it more thoroughly. But my first blush is this is really good. I do think changing out some of the pictures to show some of the campuses and maybe some of the leaders, like you said, would be good. People, and I think staying away from a lot of text is good. People, I know from experience, people don't read these things very thoroughly. But if it catches their attention, if there's some pizzazz and they see those numbers and it catches their attention, they will then engage with us. And that's what the intent of this document. Yes, it is to give candidates a sense of how dynamic and great this opportunity is. But what we really want them to do is take action, because unless they engage with us, it doesn't matter. And so I think what you presented here is a really, really good start to getting them to catch their attention to take action with us.
And the other element is it's about lifestyle too. Most likely there'll be two people moving here to take this role, a husband and a wife, and they both have to agree this is a great place. So one of the other things is maybe we look at one campus in the western part of the state to show the beauty of the mountains, and then like Carteret Community College, the beauty on the water, to show the diversity of opportunities we have outside of work to enjoy the state you're living in. Having lived in Buffalo and Cleveland and Long Island, I give a lot of value to my personal time here in North Carolina. So I think any other candidate would look at this as a real gem, have the opportunity to move here. And the other thing we're going to be including in here are quotes from very important people who are influential in the state. They're going to talk about why the community college is so important and this role is so important. We haven't talked about that here yet, but that'll be an element that Nathan's working on. So he will be reaching out to some folks on this call and others just to make sure that the individuals know that the state leadership in multiple facets is behind the success of this new CEO president. Any final question, comments from members of the committees? Again, that's why we have an advisory committee. We need to make sure we're, you're our focus groups. You're our connection to whether it's the legislature, the colleges, the trustees, business, economic development. So your voice has to be loud and represented here.
And I will say, I think, go ahead, Chris.
Tom, just a few quick observations, questions. One, any feedback that we have regarding the information that's been presented, just forward it on to you, Tom, or to Ken, or to the group.
I would say
that's first. Second is
all right, let me answer that one. First, we'll get a note out to you. It'll go to Nathan Harden with copy Dr. Gold and myself.
Okay, thanks. Second, are we going to call this consistently President, CEO? If so, I think we need to be consistent throughout the document. If that's what we're going to call this position, President/CEO.
The answer is yes, and we will do that.
Okay, and then
thank you.
Next, are we don't have to talk about it today, but I think it's important that the committee and the board is aware of the compensation package that that's required to attract candidates that have the skills commensurate, with what this profile would suggest. Are we good on that, do you think, right now?
We had those discussions before there wasn't even a committee in place. So we think we're aligned. We'll continue to confirm that because I believe you got to do all your homework up front, not on the back end. And I want to be aligned every step of the way. So you are correct. And we'll go through the schedule here in a minute.
And the last question, Ken, once this is posted, I think we all may have contacts that have people that may be qualified for this job. How do you suggest that we direct these people to you?
Great question, Chris. In this profile, there will be a dedicated email address for this search. So they can you can direct them in one of two ways. Well, really one of probably three ways. You can have them send their information to that email address in the profile. It goes directly to Janie, right to her desktop. Or if you want to give out our personal email addresses, you have those. They can send it directly to us, or you can forward, or you can contact us and say, here's somebody to contact, and we will reach out to them. All we need to know is if you do the latter, is can we use your name?
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
that's the way. And if you want to call me to talk about that a little more, I'll be glad to chat with you about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I want to add something else. I'm a fisherman and I like to throw a broad net. I usually have multiple poles of water. So the key is you got to go where the fish are, and you got to make sure you're in the back bays or going deep, depending on what you're going after. We've hired a public relations firm to help with the distribution, to make sure that this is widely distributed, and we drive awareness in groups across the country that would possibly have candidates for this role. I don't know if that's been done before, but like I said, it's, we can get 95% right. People who win in business get it right 99.9% of the time. So we're leaving nothing to chance here. That was a recommendation that came up a few weeks ago, and we quickly were able to secure that, stay within the budget, and we've got a top PR firm now that'll help us get that word out. So if there's bets you guys see we're not covering, let us know. We're moving at the speed of business here. We're going to make quick decisions, and I think maybe in the past we haven't got out as broadly. And this firm is going to give us national recognition on day one.
So will this firm,
I'm sorry.
will this firm also review this and provide
Correct.
some suggestions and okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're bringing the pros in. I don't claim to be an expert in PR. I may act like, but I'm not. And same with marketing. I was marketing, but I'm not an expert. And we're bringing all the best experts in, and they're working collaboratively. Ken is working directly with the PR firm. So we've got the right resources. This is serious stuff, and we're taking it serious.
Ken, I've got a question on page 5. The foundation growth, it deserves a 5 or 10 year line graph to show the recent growth in the last year. I think you made a point about how effective some of the pictures are as opposed to text. But the recent growth in that foundation over the last year, as Tom said, I think it deserves a lot of emphasis, and some type of little graph there would certainly demonstrate that, I think.
Totally agree.
Leave that one to Nathan. So,
I agree with that one.
Yeah.
That's a huge statement that other
Yeah.
people outside the state want to put money in. It's not like we had to take in business. Sometimes you have to take 2 or 3 years to earn the right to get someone's business.
Yes.
We got these in a year. I mean, this is unheard of.
Well, that line graph will need a tall page because it's with the recent growth.
I mean, we had a little event last year, and I started talking about the IDD program, and it was a bunch of business leaders. We got a check at the end of the night. I mean, all you got to do is it's awareness, guys. We got to make people aware of who we are, what we do, what we deliver, and that's what this profile is going to do.
Maybe a couple quick things from my perspective.
Sure.
One, I think, and I tried to put I'm not from North Carolina and I'm looking at this for the first time hat on. I think the depth of our commitment as a state to economic development and the important role the community college system plays in that doesn't come through in this as much as I'd want it to. We all know that, but I suspect people outside the state wouldn't understand that as well as I got from this. So that's one comment. Two, we are an ambitious group, and rightly so, and this is an important role. But I must confess, on the first page when it said the most important job in North Carolina, I wondered if that would put some people in the camp of thinking we were unreasonably ambitious. And so that's a question to you, Ken. Does that turn more people off than it turns on?
For different reasons, when I first saw the profile, I asked about that heading as well. but it was for different reasons. So I think that's a legitimate question to ask and for the wisdom of the group to weigh in.
I'm very open to changing it. If there's something we can come up that's more impactful,
Sure.
let's change it. Number one. Number two is, Mr. Treasurer, who would be the best one to really talk about the economic impact? Would that be getting Chris Chung to give us some additional facts on overall economic growth and tell a stronger picture there? Because I agree with that as well.
We could even just highlight one of the incredible programs that we have in conjunction with the economic development function, expanding one of our community colleges. So as an idea.
Okay.
I think too, I think that's a great comment. And I think pointing out how we've come from being, not a competitive state 10 years ago to being number one for 3 of the last 4 years is a big statement, and also workforce, success in the state. It is important to note that graph and the direction that we're going in.
So the key theme is we got to talk more about where we were, and how far we've come, rather than where we are today.
And I think some of it, maybe the organization, I think there's some of it that we need to move around so it tells a better story and builds.
It's also very important. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Mhm.
a close. So if you could share what that is, I like that.
So
Team.
if I can comment on that, I agree, but I think the ending's perfect. We want that take action and how to get there. So the end should be good, the way it is.
But I agree with her in any process. It's a building step process where you're building interest along the way as you tell your story. You capture attention up front, you build, and then you close. So
Right.
we can't look hard enough at that element. This is a great discussion. We only get one shot once we pull the trigger on this thing. Any ideas on a short and longer version? I talked yesterday, maybe we just need a 6-pager and then a 12-pager that goes into depth. It's just kind of a teaser. Ken, you have any views on that?
Yes, I do. And Janie, you can chime in here as well. I noticed that this one is 16 pages. So I'm going to get a little ahead of myself here when we get to this, because we know we're coming to the sourcing part later, but we proactively email the profile out to, we've already built a list and we're continuing to build the list. Sometimes when these profiles are too big, they get cut off by spam blockers and they never get through. If we can get a shorter version that we can email out, and then that would entice people to then engage with us, that's a plus. Janie, am I right on that?
Microsoft shut me down because they were so big. And they start looking like spam and they'll shut down my email. So usually something with less megabytes goes through a lot easier. So
Well, Michael Lee just had a recommendation. Why don't we just give a QR code rather than send out the document? And that way they can pull it up that way.
And then within the document, embed some video to instill emotion and power.
I'm not sure people will be as apt to look.
Well, you can
What's
do
your
QR
thoughts on
or even a
that?
link.
Have a teaser, 1-pager that brings people in with a QR code to get to the broader document, and then the document have embedded video, the ocean, the mountains, testimonials, really evoke emotion so people, connect with the job rather than reading it on a flat piece of paper.
So I'm not
I
a tech
like that.
person.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not a tech person, but some of the people in our office that do this a lot more say that big attachments and links are things that will cause spam blockers to kick them to either a quarantine folder or a junk folder, because there's so much bad things that can happen by clicking on links, even if it's a legitimate link.
Let's get with the PR firm and figure out what the best practice is today. We got to get the best practice.
Right.
I'm not.
So, and I think
Somehow they all get through to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think it's a
too,
big piece, yeah.
if we're saying all this wonderful stuff, but we're coming across archaic, it's sending a mixed message.
Great. We got all these points?
Yep.
All right. Let's make sure we get this documented in the minutes.
And we can adapt. We can send it out however. We just need to get it out. Getting it out's the important part. We'll do it however we need to.
Yeah, and as I said, I think the PR firm can really probably tell us. I mean, do we publish a QR code in magazines, in
Yeah.
CEO magazine, I don't know what the education
You
magazines
can
are.
put that on your website.
The Chronicle,
put it on-
absolutely.
Put it on
It's
the
really
Chronicle, put it on the website. I mean, damn it, let's use
And,
best
and,
technology in this.
and actually, if you're going to do that, higher ed jobs is better than the Chronicle. I mean, the Chronicle is probably a close second, but we have, for the passive part of our sourcing, we have more success with higher ed jobs than any other posting place, paid posting place.
Okay. It's great feedback. Anything else? This discussion's been invaluable. Thank you. Okay. Move on. We've got 10 minutes, which we should be able to cover everything here.
Go to the search landing page.
Yeah.
We're getting there. I'll just be brief. I'm assuming you will be there.
Yes.
On the search landing page, so we wanted to have a dedicated space on our site to talk about the search, to talk about the profile. And so I'm just a quick shot here at some of the wireframe. We expect to launch this later today. Part of why we made some changes to this is that we wanted it to feel dynamic. We just talked about that. And we wanted it to feel like a modern hub for this profile, for this search. And so we're going to have timelines. We're going to have video components to it. We're going to have the ability for the public to weigh in on the types of traits, the types of questions that they are interested in. And that feedback is going to help inform this committee moving forward as you look at vetting and so on. So again, this is going to be a really exciting page for us in this. It does two things. It also helps with providing information for our candidates, but it also helps the general public provide that level of transparency and communication about the process, the search committee, and next steps.
And again, this is another example. You could put the QR code on there. You can take it right off the screen, right? I mean, that's a great idea. I love it. Any questions on the landing page or any other thoughts on the landing page?
So you said that's gonna be live this afternoon. What will be available this afternoon?
So we're going to have a lot of the focus on the process this afternoon. So it'll be on the timeline, the search committee. We'll have, I believe, some information about North Carolina and the overall job of this. Some of the pieces for the profile will be kind of built out as separate pages. Those will go live until they've been approved by this group and approved in the profile itself. We also will link the profile to this after it's been approved as well. And we should next week, I would imagine, be able to turn our survey on for this as well.
Is the PR firm gonna help with this as well? I mean, to me, it's all one package.
They should be. Just make sure everything we're doing now is being run through that. We hired them about a month ago.
Okay.
I think it's an important element.
Well, I think this may be more important than the profile, actually, because this is where everybody's gonna go. This is what they're gonna look at. So this is their first impression.
My question is, how do we drive them to that landing page? And that's what they can help us with. Okay, anything else, Nathan? You have one more chart? Okay. All right, we got about 7 minutes. Upcoming critical dates. We had great feedback this morning. If there's anything else that comes to mind, please let us know by April 8th. That's about a week away. The final draft of the profile will be delivered to you all on the 10th. And then April 17th, we will approve it as a committee. And then the state board will approve the profile at a specially called meeting on the 17th. We don't have a board meeting in April because our gala event is on the 15th, our recognition event. So we'll have a specially called meeting on the 17th. And April 20th, the profile will be published and we'll begin active candidate sourcing. So we do have a window here to implement the changes and recommendations from this meeting, which were all fantastic. So it'll enable us to really make sure we're putting our best foot forward. Go to the next one, please. Okay, next steps. Again, we don't have dates yet because we'll be in the sourcing element of this. But number one, for the search committee, we'll review candidate lists presented to the search firm and select candidates to interview. We don't want to, that'll be a larger list. How many, we're not sure yet. We will keep both committees abreast of where we are. And then when we get down to selecting the final 3 candidates for interviews, the joint search committee and the advisory committee will be engaged. And then finally, the joint search and advisory committee will interview the final 3 and we'll put those 3 in rank order. And select one, and then state board approval then will be on the 19th of June at a regularly scheduled board meeting. So what we're trying to do is cull out a lot at the search committee level. Once we get down to a reasonable number, engage both committees, and then work with both committees to come up with the final recommendation of 3 in ranked order. So right now, April 17th is, again, approve the profile, which we just went through. The interviews will begin then. It did take us a little longer to get this profile done and done thoughtfully, which I'm glad we did. Plus include the recommendations we got today. So right now, the plan is that we'll have 3 finalist interviews in mid-June. And with those 3 finalists ranked, that we can take to the General Assembly for approval at the end of June. The thought is that we will not be able to get someone on board immediately. So between July and October, we'll go through an onboarding process. We're already in discussions for a interim president in the event that occurs. Most likely that will be the case. So this is the timeline that was initially shared. The only difference is the onboarding time has been extended out for a couple of months. And right now we're sticking to this, but that could change over the next 2 to 4 weeks as we look at the candidate pool that is provided to us by Lufkin Baker. We are going to get this right. We're going to do it right. We're going to get the decision right. Yeah, I think that's the last one.
Tom, can I make one comment that I think is
Sure.
really important? It's a point that Chris made earlier. When we're in the market sourcing, if you or any of your colleagues have anybody you want to refer to us, go ahead and get us those names now so that we're ready. Because I mean, we've already we want to be ready to contact people. Every group that I met with, I asked that question. If there's someone you know that you think we should talk to, either as a source of referrals or as a potential candidate, please let us know. I would ask you guys to do that as well. And in your sphere of influence, go ahead and get those to us so we're not waiting until the 20th to get those.
Appreciate that.
Hey, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Let me make sure, this is probably a silly question. What I heard was this was going to be launched this afternoon. Explain to me the launching versus the other approvals that we're going through the next couple weeks.
My understanding is they're launching the search webpage. We can't be in the
Okay.
market soliciting candidates until the profile's approved. So the profile will be approved on April 17th. We will be in the market that's a Friday. We'll be in the market on the 20th.
So
The
what is-
launching has to do with the search page.
And what does that entail, the search page?
That's
Just an
what's,
update on the search, where we are at this point in time. We'll have the schedule there. It'll be a one-stop shop. And then we'll also solicit feedback from the public throughout the
Okay.
process.
yeah, that's
So
a system.
that's more
office.
informational.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing, we don't pull the trigger on this until the 17th.
I got you.
We got 2 weeks, we got 2 weeks to get this done and our gala next week. So the team's working hard right now to make sure we do things in a fantastic manner.
And what we're doing is making sure that once that profile is approved, then we can get the postings out. We can start sending out our solicitations, but we need that profile to be able to do that, or the shorter version, whichever way the group decides to go.
Okay, and Tom, just one note, you may want to mention this to the group or wait until our next meeting in terms of the process in which the legislature will approve our recommendation, because my understanding is that it must go to both chambers for a chamber vote rather than from the leadership of the, now I understand they will lead the effort, but there's a timing issue there in terms of the legislature being in session that we need to be aware of this summer.
As you know, you and I were both in those meetings. We've got to work through that over the next couple of weeks and come to a resolution that ensures we're able to source the best candidates. So well aware of it. Discussions are continuing, and we should have an answer on that hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Provide more clarity.
All right,
But we're not slowing down. Any other comments here as we hit 9:30? Feedback? So the next time we're all together will be as we begin to cull the candidates, which will probably not be for another 5, 6 weeks, 6 weeks at least. So, but again, if you have any other input, feedback, please get it into us. We want to make sure, again, we don't want to be 95% great. We want to be 199.9% great with everything we're doing from this point forward. And I appreciate your commitment of time, your energy, but I'm confident with the group around this table and online, we got the right people with our eyes on this. So I want to personally thank you so much. And John Kane and I both want to thank you so much for your personal commitment. And I'll end with that. I can't. Senior leadership is in this state at all levels based on the discussions John and I had. It was, as I said, it put gas in my tank to hear the enthusiasm for the work our colleges do and how we've got to get this right and what the vision is moving forward. So thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you both very much.